Hi, my name is Matthew Baldwin, and thanks for joining this discussion today on innovation within the communications industry. We've assembled a panel of industry experts who will share innovation trends and current use of emerging technologies. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get right into it by introducing our panelists. First, we have Jagdeep Singh, Vice President, Oracle Cloud Platform. We have Mark Rekmelovich, Senior Director for Oracle Blockchain, and Siddharth Pandey, Vice President, Oracle Integration. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate it.
Yep.
So Mark, the first question comes to you. Where do you see are the key trends that you're seeing impacting the overall telco industry today in terms of, let's say, 5G, in terms of integration? What are the things that you're seeing right now overall, right now?
Sure, that's a great question, Matt. So we're seeing actually a lot of things happening both across and within the telco community itself, right? So you have CSP to CSP, communication service provider to communication service provider. I think in 5G space, there is so much complexity, there is so much of a dynamic bandwidth management and things that require multiple telco companies to work together, that there's a lot of innovation happening in how they collaborate. And there's different technologies that are coming to mind there. The other area is the interactions with their customers, whether it's corporate customer or individuals, and how they provide the services, the customer experience, the demands being placed by companies and individuals on those services as well, making sure that they can provide more immediate services, better optimization, better advice, better guidance, and so on. So integration across the telcos and ability to run transactions in real time, that's where we see a lot of emergence of blockchain technology, for example, as well as better services and better offers being available to the customers and better processes for the corporate customers.
Thank you. The question, and the integration question is a big question, because I've been working as well with myself, working with large telco companies and communications firms. And Siddharth, the question I have for you is, as the workload moves from on-premise and into the cloud, and there's a larger adoption to cloud technologies, what are some of the challenges that you would be seeing in terms of this migration, I guess, to the cloud?
Right, that's a good point, Matt. So as you know, we work with a lot of top telcos here in America as well as in Europe and other countries, right? And when I interact with the technology leadership in these firms, day in, day out, we see a problem where they want to embark on the journey of going to the cloud, but it's not as easy as just buying a SaaS application, right? They have heavily invested in on-prem application, and they want to have a roadmap where they can gradually move their workload towards cloud. And that's where our hybrid integration strategy that Oracle Integration provides is really key to the success when it comes to integrating these on-prem applications as well as the on-cloud applications. So we see with a lot of our customers, they want to have a platform where they can extract the value out of their existing investments, right? Have a strategy going forward to eventually move their workload to cloud, depending on individual use cases for ERP or for HCM. But they also don't want to just let go of their current investment, right? They provide services that are really important for their customer base, and they have a very wide install base. So for them, what's important is how they can migrate to cloud, how they can provide a reliable, secure environment for their customers. And anytime, if a service goes down for any of the telcos, for consumers, it's very easy to move from one provider to another. So retaining your customer base is very important for telcos. And that's where I think Oracle Integration fits in. We provide them with a platform where they can have a more futuristic, stable, ready-to-go app integration strategy, right? And have an environment where their customers can have reliable access to services as well.
Right. And what we're also seeing is when all these systems are becoming more complex, right? The network space itself with 5G and all, the network space itself is getting more complex. There are more events, more data being generated. Mm-hmm. How do you use this data to basically make a better customer experience? Use this data to bring it all together, and how do you use this to do fault tolerance? How do you use it to basically use your assets better, right? The capital spend that you have in those assets, how do you use that data to bring that together? So the first order of business is how do you bring all this data into one place? How do you make it usable, right? How do you drive insights into it? So what we are seeing is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and actually being able to do real-time things is very, very important. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys are seeing the same thing happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at, for example, situations arising from fraud, right? Being able to have real-time access to the data from other companies in the roaming space, for example, right? Or situations, I mean, we see actually a big concern in many telcos today is that there is so much telemarketing going on, whether it's messaging or actual voice calls, that people are stopping responding, right? And then the data, the call centers that are living by that are not buying the telco services because they're saying our response rate is so low. Nobody's picking up the phone and nobody's answering the messages. Why should we spend on the telco services, right? So telcos are desperate to find a way to provide more meaningful delivery of those messages to people who want them and not really bother the people who don't, right? So we're beginning to see emergence, for example, of projects, in some cases mandated by the national regulatory systems of do not call or do not message registries, where you have deep customer profiles. The customers can specify who they want to hear from, who they don't want to. In some cases, you go to a business and they ask you basically, as a condition of actually doing business, buying anything from them, to check a form that says they want to hear from them or not. All of the data needs to be collected. All of the data needs to be available for screening. What we're beginning to see is, in telemarketing space in particular, regulators are no longer satisfied with penalizing telemarketers themselves when they actually don't follow the proper procedures, but rather putting the onus on the telcos themselves. And now telcos are in charge of deciding at any point of delivery of a particular message, is it legitimate or not?
No, customer experience is king, right? That's the key thing that is driving this industry, I think. You need to personalize your services to each individual consumer, right? That's how you retain that customer. Right. And that is where AI, machine learning, chatbots, virtual assistants, all of those things play a phenomenal role, right? Yeah. The second aspect I see is, how do you manage your equipment? All these telcos with all the weight that is coming at them, customers want a cheaper service, and yet you need to do all this capital spend to keep up with technology. You need to roll up this 5G technology. You need to be able to use your assets wisely. Mm-hmm. And that is one key area that we see AI and machine learning being used quite a bit. The other thing is about this fault tolerance, right? That the network, managing those networks, how do you do that? That's a key thing that you have to play with.
Right, because like when you're looking at, if I have to provide service or I have to take field techs out to say you're going to be able to work on this particular piece of equipment, or interfacing interfacing with a cell tower provider or something like that, you have to be able to work from an integration perspective, not just with your own capability, but also with third parties, as well as having logistics issues in the field. So overall, the other question I have for you is, a key question is, there's a change in the business model associated to communications companies that is occurring right now in real time, and that change of model is bringing in media and new capability into the telcos. They're broadening their footprint to new lines of business. Do you see, and then also competing against other kind of, let's say, video service providers, for example. Yeah. What do you think about the technology changes that you're seeing in that area? Do you see particular aspects of that?
We're seeing actually some interest in pushing the what used to be back-end technology delivering the services out into the field to the cell towers. Cell tower becomes its own data center, providing some set of core technologies. There is obviously a lot of caching going on and other things, but people have much more immediate experience being able to consume some of the services that are being provided by whatever small server capability is available at the cell tower itself. Now, if you now think about how you manage that infrastructure, right, distributed not just across 5 data centers, but thousands of cell towers, you have to deal with a lot of challenges from data management perspective, systems management perspective, asset management perspective, and so on. And so that takes a combination of strong data management policies, integration capabilities, blockchain for asset tracking and asset management, and in some cases, asset sharing as well, because sometimes you have multiple companies that co-own certain assets because of the high cost of 5G, for example, right? We're beginning to see that kind of collaboration, and then you end up having to figure out how to bill for that shared asset, for the use of the shared asset.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking a few moments out of your day and giving some insight for our customers, and I appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Have a good day.